That plea echoed repeatedly here in South Florida today. Tonight, families going to bed in dismay and disgust. The jury's decision not to sentence the man who murdered 17 of their loved ones Valentine's Day 4 years ago at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. The gunman, Nicholas Cruz, was spared from execution and will serve a life sentence with no parole. Good evening, I'm Todd McDermott.
And I'm Felicia Rodriguez. Thank you for joining us. Deliberations lasted for about 7 hours across 2 days. They weighed the emotional testimony and the gruesome evidence of the deadliest U.S. mass shooting to ever reach a jury. And one by one, the names of the 14 students and 3 staff members were read aloud by the judge in the order as they were shot.
The jury agreed that the massacre was heinous, atrocious, and cruel enough to warrant a death sentence, but at least one juror thought those factors did not outweigh what the defense presented, and therefore they recommended life in prison instead.
We have team coverage for you tonight. Our Tara Jakeway has reaction from a juror.
We'll begin with Ari Height here in our studio with outrage from the families of those murdered. Ari?
Outrage for sure, Todd. The mother of one of the victims pointed out today that it's been 1,703 days since that shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. That is 1,703 days these families have waited for justice. And each and every one of them was adamant today that justice is not what they got. The families of the victims made it very clear they wanted and expected the Parkland shooter to get the death penalty, not life in prison.
It's just a travesty of justice, and it's just heartbreaking.
Today's ruling was yet another gut punch.
We came here seeking justice. We were hoping for justice. And unfortunately, we didn't get it today.
After sitting silently in court for months during the trial, listening to very specific details of how their sons and daughters, their spouses were killed, they let out their anger and frustration on Thursday.
They are suffering, and this result made them suffer even more.
No excuse for letting this piece of garbage breathe.
He's a monster. He doesn't deserve, as she said, grace and mercy.
This jury failed our families today.
And many of those families believe they're not the only ones who were failed.
You set a precedent today. You set a precedent for the next mass killing. And nothing happens to you. You'll get life in jail. I'm sorry. That is not okay.
Right now, it feels that his life is more valuable than Christopher's, and that is not true.
If this was not the most perfect death penalty case, then why do we have the death penalty at all?
Many family members asked that same question, and many expressed hope that life in prison will only mean a different kind of death penalty.
I hope and pray he receives the kind of mercy from prisoners that he showed to my daughter and the 16 others.
I pray that that animal suffers every day of his life in jail. And he should have a short life.
I wait and welcome the day that I get that call that tells me that that murderer was murdered in prison. And that's going to be a very happy day in my life.
Many of these families now spend their time working to make schools safer. They all said today that this verdict only makes them want to work harder to make sure there are no more school shootings, to make sure no other families have to go through what they've gone through. Reporting live, Ari Height, WPBF 25 News.
Ari, thank you. Governor Ron DeSantis says the shooter deserved a harsher sentence, the death penalty, and a student who survived the shooting agrees. Isabella Benjamin says she was locked inside a classroom at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School when the gunfire began. When asked her thought on today's verdict, she shared this.
It was just very, very frustrating knowing that even though he planned everything, even though he calculated every single move he was going to do, even though he killed 17, he injured 17 more, and he traumatized thousands of kids, that wasn't enough for the jury to decide death penalty. So if that's not enough, then what is?
She is now a second-year student at the University of Central Florida. She still faces challenges from the life-altering experience, but said she can't imagine the challenges faced by the families who lost loved ones.
Again, under Florida law, a death sentence, the death penalty, requires unanimous vote by the jury. It's still unclear what the final vote tally was for this sentencing trial. One of the jurors who voted not to sentence the Parkland shooter to death detailed some of that experience in the jury room in a handwritten letter to the judge describing the uproar from fellow jurors.
The letter reads, "Your Honor, I would like to notify you that one of the jurors in this case heard jurors who voted for the death penalty stating that I had already made up my mind on voting for life before the trial started. This allegation is untrue, and I maintained my oath to the court that I would be fair and unbiased. The deliberations were very tense, and some jurors became extremely unhappy once I mentioned that I would vote for life."
In reaction to that, this motion was just filed asking the court to allow law enforcement to interview a juror who may have been threatened by a fellow juror during those heated deliberations.
Well, most of those jurors did not speak afterward, but our Tara Jakeway did catch up with one of them.
She shares what the juror had to say and has more on the family members expressing their anger with the jury and with our legal system.
We caught up with one of the jurors who was on her way out, being escorted by a sheriff's deputy here today outside the courthouse. She said she was both happy and relieved that the trial was over. Now, the jury foreman said something different, that he was actually feeling physical pain after the verdict and that he did not agree with the decision, but that it is the law. And of course, family members and friends of the victims speaking to everyone on the panel, most saying they are extremely disappointed.
Very tough, very tough case. Anxious, nervous.
Are you happy that it's over?
Very happy that it's over.
What led you to the decision?
I don't want to talk about that right now.
Any words to the families, victims?
Very, very sorry for their losses.
I don't know if you could see my face, but it hurt. You know, I feel bad for them. It hurts. You know, it's well, like I said, there's nothing we could do. It's the way the law is, and that's how we voted.
You listen to all the evidence and understanding what he did to murder, going up and down all those 3 floors of stairs and hunting down all of his victims, shooting them from down the hall and then going over and executing them at point blank range. How could you not give him the death penalty? And I think that one juror that voted for life is going to live to regret that for the rest of his life.
One family member of a victim said that they likened hearing the verdict to getting punched in the stomach. Another said they found some solace, very little, in the fact that Cruz will have to spend the rest of his days thinking about what he had done behind prison bars. And another just said that justice here today was not done. In Fort Lauderdale, Tara Jakeway, WPBF 25 News.
Thank you to Tara for that. We talked with Palm Beach State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg, as well as criminal defense attorney Mark Scheiner, a former prosecutor, to get their reactions to this verdict. Both said they were a bit surprised, but also emphasized how rare the death penalty is in Florida. State Attorney Ehrenberg says, for example, that here in Palm Beach County, we have 1 death penalty verdict in the past 20 years.
I respect the jury's verdict. They were there every day listening to the evidence. But the death penalty is the law of the land in Florida, and if it doesn't apply to someone who slaughters 17 innocents, nearly all of them children, then when does it ever apply?
It'll give everyone closure. Maybe not the closure the public or the community wanted, but it's going to be closed now forever.
Find that the aggravating factors that were...
Mark Scheiner had told me previously this would be a very tough job for prosecutors. Again, all it takes is 1 juror out of the 12 to decide that mitigating factors outweigh the aggravating factors in the murders to deny the imposition of a death sentence.
Now, it took a long time to get to this moment. The trial kept getting delayed in part due to the pandemic and arguments over what evidence and testimony could be used. Jury selection began in April. 2 weeks into it, the judge ordered to restart the process because of a procedural issue regarding a group of potential jurors. Now, in June, 7 men and 5 women were sworn in for the penalty trial, which started in July. And since then, we've heard from survivors, parents, and mental health experts, and seen new videos from the day of the massacre. For the first time in the history of a school shooting trial, jurors walk through the exact building where the crime happened. Both sides made their final case Tuesday, and the verdict was announced today.
So now what comes next? The judge issues her formal ruling on that death sentence November 1st. After a full hearing, impact statements from the relatives of the murder victims, when they get to speak under Florida law, the judge cannot depart from the jury recommendation of life without parole.
It is so important to not forget the victims, the 14 students and 3 staff members who lost their lives 4 years ago.
Their faces, their names, the smiles that will forever be imprinted in our memories of who they were before they became victims of such cruelty.
There are 17 victims that did not receive justice today. My daughter, you'll notice she was the 16th of the 17 to be read today.
We still have to go to the cemetery to go see our daughter.
Our family is not whole anymore, and we move through the process of how we get through each day.
Because I see my beautiful daughter's face around our home in my dreams. And I miss her very much.
Because this should not happen to anyone else. This should never happen.
It leaves me with anger, sadness, and emptiness to know that, none of us will ever get to see them here again.
17 people died. 14 beautiful children. 14. 3 adults. 3 adults dedicating their lives to educating children.